Hey everyone, Jarb here. I've said this before, but one of my greatest prides in life is and will continue to be that I was early on Connor O'Malley. Back in 2018 or 2019, I heard about him in a podcast or saw him on Twitter and thought he was like the funniest guy on earth. His Joe Biden stock market man video, Powerade the stock market, Outlet Mall, special ops, everything that this guy put out just killed me. But I remember he released this Hudson Yards video and I started thinking, this is hilarious, but it's also like insanely unique, both conceptually and creatively, and it's practically super cool. It's super creative. Essentially, that stupid PS2 sketch kind of sold me on Connor O'Malley being more than just funny. He was a unique voice to look out for. Although it took a few years and a reminder from I Think You Should Leave that he exists for me to check him out again, I was very right about Connor. Whether it be Cory, Tyler Joseph, Richard Eagleton, or Matt Lohan, Connor has one hell of a character in store for you. He's perfected this character archetype, and it's clear he's found how he wants to tackle these topics and what he really wants his comedic voice to be. So with all that in mind, let's explore the Connor O'Malley cinematic universe. While The Mask isn't technically Connor's first dive into filmmaking or discussing the internet and alpha bros, it's a clear step up from his previous work. It's a step into somewhat serious and real filmmaking. The Mask is about a character Connor has played before, Tyler Joseph, a struggling stand-up comedian and influencer who is just a bit too intense about his passion, who moves to LA and is eventually radicalized by conspiracy theorists who aren't too dissimilar from QAnon. Everybody probably knows somebody like Tyler, someone who is a bit overbearing, even if well-intentioned, a bit odd, and just overall a really intense guy. And these days, it's rare to not know someone who's constantly trying to get their comedy, rap, whatnot, popular on the internet. This is the first time we've seen a characterization of someone like this, but I think what makes O'Malley's portrayal unique is how it doesn't fully feel like it's making fun of Tyler. For the most part, he's just odd and a bit much, but a lot of his interests and a lot of parts of him are actually too far from relatable or similar to many of our own. Connor understands that this person is only a few notches or clicks too much from being just like another guy you know, another aspiring content creator. He's probably a few real friends from being a normal poster and just person in general. The internet allows us to display our loneliness for everyone and capitalizes on it more than ever before. And this level of energy and intensity through Tyler is present in the radicalization too. Alt-right radicalization, or the slow fall down the alt-right pipeline, is more common than ever these days, and O'Malley is showing us what we've all seen. A vulnerable nation and people slowly radicalized by tech and companies that have exploited them till they feel nothing. Connor O'Malley, as extreme as he is being here, is speaking to a pretty common shared experience today. At a certain point, The Mask almost becomes morbidly funny, because part of you can imagine seeing somebody you actually know going through something like this. Or maybe to a lesser extent, you've already watched something like this happen to somebody. O'Malley is capturing the pulse of society who feels like nobody is hearing them. Feels like nobody is witnessing this, and outside of the internet sphere where this all happens and discussed, it feels unaddressed and uncared for. O'Malley is like smashing at the wall, begging not only for a real chance on his terms to make something, but to say something real and to reflect the experiences of how so many people feel and what we're all watching happen almost daily. Connor O'Malley follows up his pretty insane and deeply resonant social commentary with another again, but in a somewhat more lighthearted and nostalgic way than The Mask. Rap World is a hilarious time capsule back to the early days of YouTube, and what I like to call the second internet boom. The beginning of the real social media and internet presence development, and just a whole new wave of internet coming at us. Things aren't perfect, but there's a lot more blind optimism and seemingly good intentions. Companies weren't as all over our data yet, and most new websites and apps seem to genuinely add something new and interesting to the field. The internet still seemed pretty cool. Everybody who grew up on the internet has had an experience like this, a sleepover where you and your buddies go on and on about how you'll make it big and be like super millionaires, and the kind of unhinged behavior that comes with nights like these. Rap World is almost sad. Not fully, but it's a look into innocence lost in a way. Obviously, there's still optimism and joy on the internet, but I think that it would be hard to deny it's not a much more isolating and doomer place than before. These people would probably take a path more similar to Tyler, like in The Mask, if it was set today, but instead they just kind of stagnate as not really good people who are like eternally stuck at the age of 16 and can't mature past it. I read a really good review on Letterboxd, which puts what I'm trying to say here really well, so shout out John Simley, who said, "These guys try to make a rap album, but keep getting delayed, not because of parties or girls or weed or the draw of watching 8 Mile on DVD, but because their self-expression is stemmed by their having no selves to express." While we've seen what men like this can turn into these days and how scary radicalization of men like this is, it's fun to see a portal back in time to when they were for the most part harmless outside of to each other or those directly around them. Rap World is great. Check it out and see what an actual fun bout into nostalgia looks like. Arguably Connor's most impressive and difficult feat, Stand Up Solutions is O'Malley giving a stand-up set as the character Richard Eagleton. an overly enthusiastic tech bro looking to pitch his new AI product. Personally, I think this is his funniest work. Maybe it's just because I really love dogging on tech bros as they try and find a way to automate every part of their personality they fear that they lack, but this one really works for me. Connor isn't really being ambiguous at all here either. Not to say that he is in his other works, but he's most blatant with the joke here, and I really think that works for this, especially with a live audience. He's fully bought into this character and never lets up, relentlessly going at it with the audience while still giving off the desperate vibe of a man who's looking to scrounge any change he can out of that room. I do think O'Malley is certainly most directly going for the tech bro and AI fanatics here, showing us their twisted view of good and improvement and their warped ideas of art and advancement, but he's once again playing at the insanity of most guys today, the unhinged and extreme mentalities that these guys decide to live their lives around, and how insanely it manifests itself. A country in disarray, higher prices, more apps and more data being siphoned. Like I said, these guys that O'Malley is portraying are really only like a notch or two crazier than most people feel, and all these added factors exacerbate these problems usually to these insane extremes. It's not really saying anything O'Malley hasn't said yet, but I don't think it's trying to. I think he wants to pursue exploring the truly batshit intersections of masculinity in the current overwhelming internet age we're living in. Plus, I think he really wanted to dog on AI. What's mostly changed here is how much crazier and seemingly nonsensical has gone. It's not over the top because the top is a damn mile away at this point. With each crazier iteration of this character or archetype he's playing, it gets grosser, it gets weirder, and it gets a bit scarier. The lines between O'Malley character and coworker or people you encounter in general is becoming more blurred than ever. But we're in for the ride, and O'Malley doesn't seem to have any intention of cutting us loose early. Watching Eagleton fully devolve by the end of the sketch, breaking down his warped but somewhat weirdly relatable psyche and desires. Like I said, Stand-Up Solutions is arguably his most impressive feat, and one I also encourage everyone to watch. It is genuinely killer. Cory's is O'Malley's most recent and shortest film, but that doesn't mean it is impactful of just pure insanity once again. Cory's is all about a guy who starts seeing videos of a guy who looks just like him online and who lives a life he very badly wants to live, or seemingly is at least more fun and cool than Cory's life. I think it wouldn't be crazy to call this O'Malley's most insane, or at least out there. He's really going for it here. I've seen this get a ton of Lynchian comparisons, and I get it. This and I Saw the TV Glow are certainly the most I've personally seen someone make something actually Lynchian, or worthy of the comparison at least. I think this is O'Malley's substance though. Its strength and its utterly insane intensity. It's all in here. O'Malley is portraying the ultimate awful alpha male, the most mega tech bro, the #1 Andrew Tate supporter in the world, and it's working really well for me. I think what Connor does here is so interesting that he maybe uses the one excusable use of generative AI in a movie ever. It's intentionally awful. It's so warped and disjointed beyond comparison in a way something as soulless as AI can portray best. It's ultimately symbolic too, as when the awful and basically inhuman version of Cory is born, it's portrayed through something equally soulless and inhuman, and that, ironically, that new version of Cory would probably love and defend. This is the most dude O'Malley has ever duded before. He is the ultimate stereotype, and so absurdly dumb and ridiculous that it would be impossible for you to believe he could be anything but a caricature. And O'Malley plays him with this level of commitment and seriousness that Cory would actually have. While Cory is probably the grossest and ugliest manifestation of male internet culture yet, literally transforming into a mega Cory hybrid, it's also maybe his most optimistic. Cory ends in a much better state than where he even started, and while I don't think O'Malley is saying Cory spending the night berating women, being an asshole, and saying bullshit is what you should do, I think he's playing at the fear that we inside all at least have a little bit of Cory in us, or a guy like this. Part of us could be a little too much, go a little too far, but I think he's kind of doing the we all have evil thoughts occasionally, it's part of being human thing here. It's not crazy to have like the flash thought of some of the things Cory would do, as long as you're capable of recognizing it's insane and accepting that. It's a mirror O'Malley's holding to us, and the image is far too crazy for us to look away. All this to say, I legitimately believe O'Malley is a great filmmaker and a voice that I'm going to be actively looking to hear more from. I think Connor O'Malley is not so subtly parodying hypermasculinity, grind set, hustler's mentality, and all the ridiculous trends and stereotypes that men have just continued to fall into these past few years. As far as I'm aware, he's been doing this since at least 2016, so he's been perfecting it for some time. While O'Malley isn't the first to explore these topics and try to parody the general alpha male stereotype, his strength is in his intensity and commitment. O'Malley is always going ridiculously over the top, but you're always at least myself personally, there with him and down to follow him. Last year, O'Malley made it very clear that he was going to make his voice heard, without studio help or not. And I'm praying that he gets to do a full feature one day, because he's proven himself to be a truly special voice. I think that's going to do it for this one. Let me know down below what you think of the Connor O'Malley cinematic universe, or the COMCU as I'm dubbing it. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and go watch some Connor O'Malley.